You're listening to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert DSO edition with Josey Sewell, brought to you in part by Sonicare, a leader in supporting DSOs and private practices alike. Stay tuned after the episode for a very special message. Welcome back, everyone, to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert DSO edition. Josey, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me.
All right. I got another question that came about, actually, I think both panels that we did at RDH Under One Roof. This question came about. It's something that hygienists are always curious about, but it's about job advancement and what opportunities are in DSOs for the hygienist. So that's my question to you. What are the most common roles for RDHs in a DSO?
Well, I think that DSOs have the most rich environment and greatest opportunity for hygienists to grow both within and outside of the operatory. And so some of the things that we see is maybe even being a team leader of hygienists inside your practices. Maybe you're helping onboard or train new hygienists, and maybe it's within a specific location. And then as you grow and get great at that, you might become different DSOs have different structures and what they call these people, but there might be a hygiene mentor or hygiene coach is a pretty common title that I've seen, where this might not even be a full-time out of the op role, but maybe you still work a couple days a week clinically, and then a couple days a week you're helping other hygienists excel in their career. I have also seen other types of training that hygienists will offer to the team at large. Maybe it's like OSHA, HIPAA, emergency, medical emergency type stuff. And then as you grow into a larger organization, you might see that people become a director of hygiene or a VP of hygiene. Some of the very large organizations might have like a chief hygiene officer. Another pretty, I would say not as common, but fairly common, what I see a lot of hygienists move into an operations role. So they might go into an office manager role or maybe even a regional manager where they are overseeing multiple locations. And then that career path may take you to like a director of operations or a chief operating officer. I've had the opportunity to sit at that director of ops and that COO role. And I had to learn operations and learn the business of dentistry, but it was incredibly valuable for my team for me to also have the clinical knowledge because I could speak to my clinicians and my providers and understand that patient experience. So, couple options, growing within hygiene and then growing within operations is what we see a lot of hygienists do within DSOs.
Just as a quick follow-up, I know this wasn't something we talked about ahead of time, but you brought up a really good point about operations and clinical. And there's really, when you come to a lot of DSOs, it's almost two different paths, but they have to work together. So I was hoping you could kind of talk about how they work together.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of the quickest way to talk about how they work together. But, operations, a lot of people hear that term, they're not sure what it means. And to me, operations is the glue that kind of holds things together. It's that bridge between what happens in the front and what happens in the back. And really, a lot of that comes down to patient experience. And so patient experience is not just my medical history, but it's how do we attract and schedule and get those patients in, and then how do we do our intake and take care of them. And so, you can't have one without the other. As clinicians, we learn a little bit about metrics and the business of dentistry and things like that. But our front office friends or our purely managerial friends, they have that learning curve of learning the clinical part. And that's where we can really bring it together.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I think that's maybe a topic we dive into a little bit deeper on a future episode as well. And then listeners, we also have another episode coming up next year where we talk about even more roles that hygienists can have that are just a little bit different than kind of the traditional paths that we talked about today. Josey, thank you so much for being here. If someone wants to follow you or find out what you're up to, where can they find you?
You can find me anywhere you're on social media, Josey Sewell, and then my email is josie@joseysewell.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you for listening to Ask the Expert with Josey Sewell. Sonicare supported this episode, and they are here to support you as well. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I have linked a website in the show notes of this episode that will give you access to all of the patient support materials Sonicare has to offer. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start with our patients. Let them help. Simply click on the episode title, access the show notes, and click on the link courtesy of our friends at Sonicare. Have a great week, everybody.